Imagine being the firstborn in all of human history, born into a world untouched by civilization, ruled not by kings or governments, but by the voice of God Himself. Now imagine falling from that sacred height with a single act that would stain your legacy forever, not just in history, but in eternity. This is the story of Cain, but not the one you've heard in Sunday school. This isn't just about jealousy or a murder in a field. This is about a mark, a mysterious, divine imprint that has puzzled theologians, scholars, and seekers for centuries. Was it a curse? A protection? A punishment? Or was it something far more complex? And more importantly, what does this mark say about us? About justice, mercy, and the God who walks in gardens and judges the hearts of men? Today, we're going deeper than tradition, deeper than assumption. We're exposing the truth behind the Mark of Cain. Buckle up. This one is going to challenge everything you thought you knew. Let's begin. To understand the Mark of Cain, we must first revisit the crime that brought it about. Cain, the firstborn of Adam and Eve, was a tiller of the ground. His brother Abel, a keeper of sheep. Both offered sacrifices to God. Abel's was accepted, Cain's was not. And in that moment, something dark was born in Cain's heart. "Why are you angry?" God asked. "If you do well, will you not be accepted?" A warning, a lifeline. But Cain rejected it. Instead, he lured his brother into the field and murdered him. The first death in human history wasn't natural. It was intentional. When God confronted Cain, he didn't deny it. Instead, he responded, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Cold, defiant, unrepentant. This wasn't just a family tragedy. This was a moral earthquake. A breach in the foundation of human community. A violation of divine expectation. And yet, what happens next shocks us. God doesn't kill Cain, He banishes him, condemns him to wander. But He also marks him, a mark that no one fully understands. Here lies the heart of the mystery. What exactly was the Mark of Cain? The Hebrew word used is oath, a sign, a signal, a distinguishing mark. But the Bible never tells us what it looked like. Was it visible? Was it spiritual? Was it symbolic? Some early Jewish traditions claimed it was a horn on his head. Others suggested it was leprosy or a supernatural glow. Some even said God wrote his name on Cain's forehead. Theologians and mystics have offered countless interpretations. But the meaning is more important than the method. The mark served a purpose, protection. God said, "Whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold." So the mark wasn't just a sentence, it was also a shield. That tension between punishment and mercy is at the core of the story. So what was it really? A curse or a covering? Let's look closely. Cain is cursed from the ground. He's condemned to be a fugitive and a wanderer. But when he cries out that the punishment is too much to bear, God responds with mercy. He marks Cain so that he won't be killed. Isn't that astonishing? The first murderer in history, unrepentant, bitter, and yet still spared, still protected. God does not condone Cain's sin, but He doesn't destroy him either. The mark becomes a paradox, a sign of justice and mercy intertwined. Could it be that the mark of Cain tells us more about God than about Cain? Let's pause and imagine what Cain must have felt. He had a mark that protected him, but also reminded him. Every glance, every whisper, every village he entered, people knew. Shame follows guilt like a shadow, and sometimes surviving the consequences can be more painful than the punishment itself. Cain was sentenced to wander, cut off from family, from the ground, and from the favor of God. Yet he lived with memory, with conscience, with the mark. That's not just a punishment, that's a life sentence. In the ancient Near East, vengeance was a cultural norm. Blood feuds could last for generations. So for God to step in and prevent retaliation for a murder, that was unheard of. God essentially says, "I will be Cain's protector." It's almost scandalous. It reveals something critical about early theology. God is not just the God of justice. He's the God of restraint, of patience, of second chances. Even in the oldest parts of Scripture, mercy is not a New Testament invention. It's a core attribute of God. Over centuries, this story has been twisted. Some have falsely claimed that the mark of Cain was a sign of racial inferiority, a terrible distortion used to justify slavery and discrimination. Let's be absolutely clear. There is no biblical basis for this idea. None. The Bible never associates the mark with skin color. That was an invention of racism, not revelation. The real legacy of the mark isn't about ethnicity. It's about God's character. A God who judges, yes, but also a God who shows unthinkable mercy. Cain became a builder of cities, a father of generations. He lived with the weight of his sin, but also under the protection of a God who refused to let his story end in execution. Now, let's fast forward. Thousands of years later, another innocent man is murdered. Not by a brother, but by a world blinded by fear and hate. Jesus, the Son of God, is crucified. But here's the twist. Where Cain was spared for his guilt, Jesus was killed for ours. And instead of a mark of shame, Jesus bears the wounds of redemption. On his hands, his feet, his side. Could it be that the mark of Cain foreshadows the scandal of grace? That even in judgment, God prepares a way for mercy? Cain was a sinner, yet God spared him. We are sinners, and God saves us. Not because we deserve it, but because He is good. The mark of Cain is not just a story from ancient times. It's a mirror. It forces us to ask hard questions. Have I been like Cain, jealous, angry, unrepentant? Have I dismissed the voice of God when He warned me? And yet, have I also received mercy I didn't deserve? Protection I couldn't earn? Grace in the middle of my guilt? We live marked lives. Marked by our past, our failures, our regrets. But God offers a different mark, a mark of forgiveness, of redemption, of purpose. Just like He didn't give up on Cain, He hasn't given up on you. So now, the truth is exposed. The mark of Cain wasn't a tattoo of shame. It was a divine paradox. Justice wrapped in mercy. A warning and a witness. We may never know what it looked like, but we now understand what it meant. In Cain's story, we see the terrifying weight of sin, but also the overwhelming reach of God's grace. So when you think of the mark of Cain, don't think of a man cursed forever. Think of a God who marks even the guilty and still calls them by name. Because the mark that matters most now is not the one Cain bore, but the one Christ bore for us. And that truth changes everything. If this video made you think, stirred your heart, or gave you a new perspective, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe for more deep, thoughtful explorations of Scripture. Let's grow in truth together.